And now for our feature presentation.
You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
He's going to go into the end zone.
Puts it up. Yes! There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown.
And Barnes hits one high. It's a deep. It is out of here. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Unbelievable. A home run for Gibson. And the Tigers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Here are your hosts, Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater.
All right, greetings and a good afternoon and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them online at stokesvw.com. Find us at jbandgoldwatershow.com. It is Thursday, October the 15th. We're rolling right along, humming right till Halloween and then into the holiday season around here. Darren is to the right of your screen. I am Jamie. We are across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater. He is at Darren Goldwater. I am at Sports Radio JB. Please follow all those. We'd appreciate that, certainly. And you can watch us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, listen on the Podbean app, and all of that. If you head to jbandgoldwatershow.com, is available right there, whether you're on your phone or on your computer or whatever it may be. jbandgoldwatershow.com has all of our platforms and much, much more. David Cloninger set to join us at 12:10 this afternoon from the Post and Courier, so he's about 8 minutes away. We got a lot to get to with the Gamecocks in that conversation because obviously Auburn and South Carolina is this weekend. What would happen if Will Muschamp tested positive for the coronavirus? Steve Sarkisian has taken over for Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa. Who would take over for Coach Muschamp in Columbia if that were to happen? We'll ask him that question. We'll obviously talk about what little we know of the injury report and, of course, of the Jalen Brooks situation, and we'll look to this weekend's ball game. But Dawn Staley, Frank Martin, and Mark Kingston have all met with the media in the past couple of days, and so DC has some good notes on all of that for us as well. So a really fun conversation coming up here in just a few moments with him. At 12:30, Corey McCartney is set to join us. Corey, of course, in Atlanta. We'll talk about the Braves. They took it on the chin last night, putting that very politely. We're obviously about to talk about the Braves here in just a moment as well and the rest of what is going on in the playoffs. And then we've got Scott Glaze at 1:30 today. We're exactly 1 month from the Masters. The Masters last year, Tiger Woods won it. What is Tiger doing to prepare for this year's Masters? So we'll get to that and much more with him. Got some more college football notes to get to. Obviously, Coastal Carolina with a big win last night. And much, much more. But we're going to lead off here real quick, Darren, with some breaking news from college football. Another game postponed this weekend, and it's another game I think we were all looking forward to. 8th-ranked Cincinnati on the road at Tulsa, which was scheduled for noon, our time, 11 a.m. Central. Postponed because of the Bearcats' COVID-19 situation, according to multiple sources. An official announcement should be coming here any minute, basically. And this game has been rescheduled for December the 5th at Chapman Stadium in Tulsa. So we'll see how that works out. Don't know all the positives, if it's contact tracing, whatever it is, but that is another college football postponement from this weekend's slate.
Yeah, and it stinks. I think we were all looking forward to seeing Cincinnati. We talked with JC about it yesterday. Cincinnati and Tulsa team that beat UCF a couple times in a row this year and last year. And can they get Cincinnati now? Well, we're gonna have to wait about 2 months before we find out that answer.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to have to wait around a little bit, no doubt. Not going to have to wait too much longer, though, for Game 4 of the National League Championship Series, coming off of the debacle of all debacles for the Atlanta Braves last night, losing 15-3 to the Dodgers. Astros also won Game 4 last night, so they're still alive in the ALCS against the Rays. That 4-3 victory. Zach Greinke got the win, but Kyle Wright got the loss early. And, yeah, this is one of those things where you look. It's 11-0 after the first inning. If you watched the Braves in the dugout, they knew. It was like, okay, this is over.
I mean, if you listen to Buck and Smoltz talking about it, they were even referencing, well, you can't just quit. Like, so now you got to figure out how do you just get through the game, because you can't just walk away. I mean, so the announcers knew it was over in the first inning. Everyone did.
They did. But here's the great thing about this, right? It didn't matter. The Dodgers could have scored 95 runs last night. It was only going to count for one win. And that's one of the things I was talking about yesterday with the youth of this team, with Acuna and Albies and Dansby and Riley and Camargo and Pache, and then you've got the right ingredients in there with some of the older guys like Freddie and Marcell Ozuna and Markakis, even though he didn't start or play last night. It's like, look, man, we're getting our rear ends kicked. This sucks, but it's not a who cares attitude, but it's like it only counts for one. We're still winning the series. We still have to win 4. They still have to win 4. I mean, that's what's great about baseball. They're going to get to go play today, and after a 15-3 game, and I know the Dodgers are hot, and that's the scary part of this, is that, like, okay, they are clearly clicking. You texted me last night. You said, I guess A-Rod was right. That 9th inning did carry over, and A-Rod was right, and you were right. But it's a new day. It's a new day today. The Braves are going to start a lefty and Bryce Wilson. We'll see what he can do out there.
I'll say this though, the feeling about the series has totally changed.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would, anyways. I what I said after it was 2-0. I said it's not over.
Nope.
You got to get to 3-0 for this thing to be over.
Yep, that was our common theme yesterday. Got to get to 3-0. But the way the Dodgers jumped on them, the way that they put this game out of reach in a 32-minute top of the first inning, and then carried it through. They weren't done. The feeling of this series has changed because you go through the first 2 games, it's the same story. Pitching's lights out. The offense comes through when you need it. The bullpen nails it down in game 2 after almost letting it slip. And the team's rolling and feeling good, and the Dodgers are on the mat, right? Because all the pressure's on the Dodgers. Well, now we've just seen what the Dodgers are capable of, and they've been quiet, and now they are awake. Mm-hmm. This game tonight is a pivotal game, and the matchup does not favor the Braves. You got Wilson going against Kershaw, and the entire feeling of the series has changed for me. I mean, I would almost favor the Dodgers here, who are down 2-1.
Well, you're not wrong, and as a matter of fact, I actually think most are. I mean, I think there's a lot that are favoring the Dodgers still to win this series, and I don't blame them for favoring the Dodgers. They certainly are the favorites to win tonight. Not just because of what happened last night, but because Kershaw is supposedly ready to pitch tonight against Brian Wilson. So you will have a pair of lefties at least starting the game. It'll be – we do need to keep an eye on Kershaw. I mean, if he was having back spasms 2 days ago, the reality that those are gone today is a good reality, but it doesn't mean that he can't have them again, or this start can't be interrupted. So I'm anxious just to see the emotion of Atlanta before the game starts. I'm interested to see what they look like out there, just how they're carrying themselves. Because, again, that game only meant one. That's it.
Right.
It was only one. And I do think that this is a team that's, like, smart enough to understand, but also, like, if this makes sense, like, dumb enough to not care.
Naive. Young.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, whatever. We got beat. So what? We got beat. Big deal. We'll have to go try to win tonight. But anyways, that's coming up tonight at 8:08 on Fox. Much more on that coming up in a little bit over 20 minutes with Corey McCartney. over in Atlanta. But up in Columbia, it's our friend and yours, David Cloninger with the Post and Courier on Twitter at DCPNC. Boy, it's been a busy week for you, my man. You've still got a couple days to go. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain, man. You know, I'd rather have too much to do than not enough. So just kind of the general life these days, but I'm okay.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. We had Muschamp this week. We've had Kingston this week. We've had Dawn. We've had Frank. Still got a game to get to. You got Gamecock baseball scrimmages up there. Practice is starting with basketball. And you've got a young buck at home. So not a lot of sleep in the Cloninger house.
Well, you know how it is, man. And throw in that the baseball playoffs are on. But the good news is I was able to catch up on some sleep last night because after that first run scored, I was like, okay, well, this game's over and this series is over too, so no need to waste my time watching it anymore.
Oh, come on. They're still up 2-1. You don't believe that.
Well, guess what? There's been 85% of the time in Major League Baseball in the best-of-7 playoff series, the team that's taken a 2-0 lead has won. The other 15%, did you know that the Braves have two teams included in that 15%?
One of them was the World Series team.
Yeah.
Two of them were the World Series teams, 58 and 96.
Yeah, I knew 96.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know 58.
The good thing is that they're not going to kick me in the crotch this year by getting to the World Series and losing it because they're not going to get there.
Ooh.
So, you know, I get it. I mean, they were playing with fool's gold this whole time. I'm fine with it. Really, I am. I'm not disappointed at all.
Well, I will say this. I am actually anxious to see kind of their persona tonight when this thing kind of gets going, because they do have a bunch of young guys, you know, and like, you know, if they're able to, they were laughing it off last. It was like the fourth inning, and they were just in there just jabbering off in the dugout, taking pictures when Pache hit his home run. They're down by 12 runs, you know. But they were still having a good time. You know, sometimes those teams can be dangerous. Those are the teams that bounce back and win.
Well, maybe so, Jamie. But if none of those guys can pitch effectively, which Bryce Wilson cannot, then it's not going to help.
Oh.
So, you know, the fact is there's no logical reason why they should be even in this point, in this state, but they are, and credit to them, because they have had no starting pitcher really all year, and a lot of that's just been because of injuries. Mm-hmm. They somehow got to this point. They won the first two games because they got a great pitching performance and just enough good pitching to get by. But now that's off, you know, and it's pretty much been the key all season. Like, well, who are you going to go to in that third and fourth slot? Well, the third slot got rocked, and the fourth slot will get rocked. Yeah. So now you're going to have to reach deeper into that bullpen. And even if you go back with a Max Fried for Game 5, he's going to be on short rest. So, like I said, guys, just I've seen enough baseball to know that you're obviously going to lose some games sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's also times where the opponent rips out your soul. And that's what happened in that first inning last night.
Yeah, that was.
So it's just, hey, you know, no one expected to be here. Hey, that's great, you know, but it's just kind of the typical life of being a Braves fan. They're always going to wait until you get that first little glimmer of hope and be like, oh, wait, we're going to turn back into ourselves. So, you know, I'd just like to say go Rays. I'm hoping they go all the way.
Hey, yeah. Look, Mike Mazzino has lost a World Series before. He did that in college because the Gamecocks beat him when he was at Florida. Maybe he'll get one this time around. All right, let's move on to the Gamecocks, speaking of which. All right, so yesterday, D.C., Nick Saban announced that he had tested positive for the coronavirus, and he will not be able to coach in any way, shape, or form the game this weekend against Georgia. If that were to happen in Columbia with Will Muschamp, who would take over the program?
I mean, it's obviously a hypothetical, Jamie, but I would think that Mike Bobo would, being the offensive play caller, just because that's who everybody's going to be watching, and obviously it's tough to score points on defense. It's not impossible, but it's very tough to do. So I would think in that eventuality, Mike Bobo would take over. I mean, not only is he the offensive coordinator, but he's the guy that's had head coaching experience before. So in that case, that would be my guess to what would happen. But right now, you know, kind of with COVID threatening a lot of the SEC, yep, South Carolina seems to be in a pretty good place. They've got a couple of guys that are positives, but they don't have any of the mass outbreaks like these other teams have. Now, of course, they did have their final test of the week today, and we'll wait to see what those results are. But from everything I know, they're in a very, very good place with their COVID testing.
Yeah, we'll keep knocking on wood for that as well. And I know that Will isn't providing injury updates. He's not providing travel lists. He's not providing starting lineups. He's not really anything. I felt bad for Todd Ellis pregame last week. I was listening to Todd, and he was like, "Yeah, so there. Okay, so yeah, Keir Thomas isn't out there." I was like, "Oh man, poor Todd." But in saying that, I know sometimes we can kind of figure some things out without actually having to get it from the horse's mouth. In this case, that would be Coach Muschamp. Have you been able to discover any updated news on guys like Izzy McQuamanu, Jalen Dickerson, who maybe was attending a funeral last weekend, Keir Thomas, and have you heard anything? I know the question was asked Tuesday, but have you heard anything in addition to what Will Muschamp provided on Jalen Brooks?
Nothing new on Brooks. And again, guys, I've said on the program before, you can certainly appeal it, which they're doing, but I don't see the NCAA reversing a decision that they've already made. Being around this program and knowing how things usually go in cases like this, I never thought for 1 minute that Jalen Brooks was going to suit up, for this team. So that one's pretty much gone. But who knows what will happen on the appeal. But with the other guys, it's just kind of a wait and see. To see if these guys will be able to play, and specifically with Israel McQuamanu, yes, there is a little bit of concern with that groin strain he had a couple of weeks ago, but I think the second half last week was mostly a case of he wasn't playing that well. So if you're not playing that well, no matter if you're a 2-year starter or not, you need to put in somebody who can and help you play that well.
Well, that's a good point. And they're going to need to play well this weekend. Look, Auburn comes in with problems of their own, and most of those problems, at least that we're aware of, have happened on the field. Offensively, their offensive line has certainly struggled, so Keir Thomas being back could be a big help for Carolina. And saying all of that, though, DC, like you just mentioned, you've been around this program a long time. You've seen a lot. I think we all have, and we've also seen that dual-threat quarterbacks at times can be the demise of Gamecock football, and they've got one. And Bo Nix, 2-1 to start the year with wins over Kentucky, and I would say maybe a gift against Arkansas last week with a terrible, terrible call at the end of the ball game. But Bo Nix can provide problems for this Gamecocks defense. So when you look at this matchup, what do you see?
You're definitely right there, Jamie. And the fact is looking at Gus Malzahn over there at Auburn, I know he's rubbing his hands together and chuckling watching game film of South Carolina secondary and about how he can exploit this. They've got speed. They've got guys. They like to run up tempo. There's a lot of different things they can do, and specifically with Bo Nix, he is a mobile guy. And it's not just as simple as assigning, say, a Ernest Jones in the middle and saying, hey, you spy on the QB and go wherever he goes, just because they can do a lot of things with him, a lot of misdirection, a lot of fake handoffs, that kind of thing. So, it's pretty much just try to stay in your gap and play basic fundamental defense and hope that you can get a few plays. Auburn is a flawed football team. They are not elite, but they're still plenty dangerous, and they're good. And South Carolina, you know that they can move the football. They can go make some things happen on offense. The point is that you just don't want to have to do it on every drive. You don't want to have to be forced to do it on every drive. If this gets into a shootout with Auburn or really anybody, kind of looking down the road at that Ole Miss game, I'm not sure if South Carolina's going to be able to handle that. You've got to be able to get some stops sometime, and with Auburn, it's going to be very tricky to do that just because South Carolina's secondary through these first 3 games has not played very well.
What scares me about this game, Tank Bigsby, a guy who was almost a Gamecock, is kind of last game kind of come into himself a little bit. They're beginning to give him the football more, both in the run game and kind of flaring it out to him in the pass game. But you've got him. Everybody knows about Seth Williams, probably their best wide receiver. And then you got the Schwartz kid, from what I understand, he runs like a 4.2 40. That right there, when you have a mobile quarterback, you have a tailback who can catch it and can run it, and then you got a little guy with speed like that, like Florida presented just a couple of weeks ago. Those are the things that generally find a way to bust big plays on South Carolina. And I think that's probably the key this weekend to this Gamecocks defense is preventing those explosive plays, DC. I want to see if you agree with me with that, because outside of that, when you look at what they've done defensively, they're actually at the top of the league compared to some of the problems we've seen elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like with South Carolina, Jamie. They're tops in the league in third down defense. If it's getting to third down, they've been getting answers, and that is good to see. The problem is, though, is that a lot of the other damage is coming on first or second down.
Yep.
And with Florida and Tennessee, they were able to exploit that and hit those explosive plays. I mean, sometimes it's just bad coverage. A lot of times it's bad coverage. Sometimes it's just really bad tackling. The tackling, I think, has been a bit overblown. There's been two really glaring examples of non-tackling against Florida and Tennessee. Mostly, I think it's just that secondary scheme just needs to be simplified and needs to be toned down so it's not such a pro-style scheme, and these guys that they're putting on the field can't understand it. But I don't know if that's going to happen in a week. I don't know if that's going to happen in the season. So you just have to kind of hope that the talent on the field in that secondary will show up and try to limit Auburn's explosive plays. But guys, this is Gus Malzahn we're talking about, the offensive guru, the genius, all that kind of stuff. And he's got some talent to exploit some mismatches, and I'm sure he's going to do so.
Yeah, and Chad Moore's over there as well. David Cloninger on Twitter at DCPNC. All right, on the other side of the football, what I'm anxious to see here is what happens with the offensive line to start the game, because I have kind of heard some whispers, and you might have been closer to this than I have, but I've heard some whispers, and I saw Will's comments on Tuesday, that maybe they're feeling a little bit better about Turntine at left tackle than they were prior, and if that's the case, you can put Dillon back where he's comfortable at right tackle. How many issues do you think that could help solve on the offensive line if that is the starting five this week?
Well, it will help a little bit, and it's not that Dylan Wanham has just been completely terrible at left tackle. He hasn't, but he's had some notable whiffs, that obviously led to some big plays for the opposition. So you put him back in the spot where he's repped, where he's played, I mean, that has to be an advantage. Nothing against Turntine, who came in and was really good in the spring, but, it's in the summer where maybe he didn't have his access to the kind of weights and nutrition and all the other stuff that some of the other guys had. Well, he slid on through. And he had to come in here and try to get that back, and it's really been a process to do it, but he's gotten a lot better over these past few weeks. So I think that you will see a mix, especially with those tackle spots against Auburn tomorrow, because, you have to go out there and try it. It's not like just saying, well, we're going to rep you here, but then go back to what hasn't been working these first three games. But the main thing is that, offense is always going to be important for this Gamecock team because the defense has not been playing up to snuff. So an important part of that offense is pass blocking. Colin Hill has played really well these first 3 weeks, but he's not going to play really well if he keeps getting chased or knocked on his butt. So they've got to protect him, and pass blocking has not been a strength of this team these first three games.
David, the feeling around the fan base certainly is much more optimistic after seeing the 41 points on the board against Vanderbilt. What's the feeling up there, though? I mean, we've talked a lot this week already about the difference between gaining confidence and gaining momentum as a football team. What's the feeling up there, having been around the team now for 4 days since the game?
Well, guys, I mean, it's one thing where a lot of people said, well, hey, 41 points, it was Vanderbilt. That should have happened. And there is something to be said for that. However, let's look at South Carolina historically and say no win ever against any opponent should ever be discounted, because there's been way too many times where that has not happened. So they needed to win. They did that, and they wanted to look convincing doing it, and they did that too. So confidence is very high right now that says, hey, we can score here, and we've got some really good pieces. I mean, obviously Kevin Harris was the star of last week's game. He's a guy that people are starting to talk about now, and it's not just because you look at the SEC rushing chart and you see Kevin Harris right under Najee Harris from Alabama. So they know, it's like, okay, well, you've got a good even a great SEC caliber running back. You've got a good solid QB. You've got one elite wide receiver and a really good tight end. And, maybe some of these other receivers will start stepping up. So that's the good thing. Everybody knew you're supposed to beat Vanderbilt. You're probably supposed to whip them. South Carolina did that, and they're just playing confidence. I mean, there is something to be said for the 1 week season kind of thing. Yeah. And now you get to go home and play a team that has been struggling. And as you guys saw, I mean, who's to know if Arkansas would have definitely won that game last week? But the reason they didn't have a chance was because they got hosed on a really atrocious call.
That was terrible. Hey, I got a little nugget for you, and you can, if you want, you can put this in your columns and claim it as your own. But I actually did a little research this morning. I knew I had you on today, so I needed to up my game. So I did some research, and the last time that a South Carolina running back had over 300 yards rushing in their first 3 games and over 300 yards rushing in their first 3 SEC games combined now was 2013. And that was Mike Davis, of course, who's now starting for the Carolina Panthers. Mike Davis had 341 yards in his first 3 games that year against North Carolina, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. And his first 3 in the SEC were Georgia, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky, and he combined for 332 in those 3 games. And he had 614 total yards through his first 5 games because he also had UCF in there. And you had to get to game 5 to get to Kentucky. Harris has 326 through 3 games. So do you anticipate now that maybe with his emergence as a true SEC talent, a top-of-the-line running back at least that we've seen thus far, that might be able to provide some more opportunity for another guy? You know, Xavier Legette's kind of coming along, but even maybe another wide receiver to open up out there as more teams start to pay more attention to what Kevin Harris is doing running and catching the football.
Well, you would hope. I mean, you definitely would hope, Jamie. And the fact is that it hasn't just been the fact like, oh, well, you know Shaw's going to catch it, so go ahead and throw it up to him. It's been the case like, listen, they're not going to throw it if that guy's not open. And those other guys have had a problem getting open. So that's always going to depend on the defense you're playing. Those guys did get a chance against Vanderbilt. It wasn't by design to not go to Shi Smith in the first half. That's just the way things worked out. Vandy, wisely tried to double him a lot, put their best guy on him. So they said, okay, well, first pass is going to go to Legette. That was not completed. It looked like interference to me, but it wasn't called.
Yeah.
And then the second pass was to Kevion Mullins, who had the ball, and he dropped it. So I thought, well, okay, it's kind of back to square one here. But you saw it as the game went on, a few more targets, a few more looks. Obviously, the Carolina Joyner had the big play on the reverse late in the game for the final touchdown. So you just needed to see it happen on the field. It didn't matter the competition. It didn't matter what the score was or if somebody was tired or if it was rainy or whatever. You just needed to see those guys get on the field, get a chance, and make something happen. There's no, replacement for just feeling confident, Jamie. And the fact is those guys got a little bit of confidence last week. So that they want to run the ball with Kevin Harris. That's how Will Muschamp wants to win. And if it's working, he should wisely stick with it. So if Kevin Harris is out there running and they start putting in more guys to clog up the line and, put 8 in the box and try to take that away, well, fine. That's going to open up things downfield. So you should have those opportunities, assuming Kevin Harris can get out there and really start making an impact early. And, just judging from Auburn's first 3 games, I think that he'll be able to do that.
Hopefully Carolina can get some momentum this weekend, which would be their first win over Auburn since they joined the SEC in 1992. All right, before I let you run here, I do want to hit on Frank, Don, and Mark real quick. There wasn't a ton, really, I don't think, David, that came out of all these press conferences this week with Frank Martin, Don Staley, and Mark Kingston. But I did love Frank's line yesterday. He said, outside of everybody picking on Colin Taylor this week, poor Colin. But I did love Frank saying, I told all you guys, getting to the Final Four would pay dividends for this program down the line. And if you pay attention across the country, there are some of the major basketball voices out there who actually are putting expectations on the Gamecocks. And I think that's exciting. If you're a Carolina basketball fan, you go into the season not with your own expectations for the first time in quite some time. You go in with someone else's. And that's pretty neat. So how has Frank's team handled this? And it does appear to me that Frank feels pretty confident in his group of players. I just hope they can put it together early this year. They haven't been able to do that in the past.
Well, and that's the thing, Jamie. The main thing is that I think there was a lot of excitement around this team last year because they knew who they had coming back. A.J. Lawson was going to come back as a sophomore. You had Keyshawn Bryant. You had some of these other guys who had played the year before, and everything, started out okay. And then you just had a couple of really, really bad losses. And then they rebounded, and then they had another really bad loss. So I think that from a fan standpoint, expectations are kind of tempered. They all agree and know that this is the best chance that they've had since that Final Four team to really do some damage. I mean, this team has everything you want. It's experienced. It's played in a lot of games. It's got guys that have been there before, and you've got a proven go-to guy in A.J. Lawson. You've got a guy you're really excited about in Seventh Woods, and you've got a guy in Keyshawn Bryant and Justin Minaya who have been in a lot of games and have produced in a lot of games. So they're really excited about what they have, and they should be. So that's something that I am glad to see. More of the national media are starting to talk about them because without fail, Jamie, it's always kind of been the case of like they'll rank the best teams in the SEC, your Auburn, your Tennessee, and Kentucky, and then they'll start looking at these other guys that signed great recruiting classes like in Alabama or maybe an Ole Miss because they had some success last year, and they always just kind of forget about South Carolina and what they've been able to do. And from an NCAA tournament perspective, I get it. You know, South Carolina is not a consistent NCAA tournament team. But from an SEC perspective, they've had 4 winning conference seasons in the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's not by accident. And, you know, they've been finishing consistently in the top 4 or 5 in the league. So I am glad to see a lot of the national guys are picking them 5th, maybe 6th. I think I had them 5th, when I did my little preseason poll, just because this is a good, solid team, and you're kind of getting that reputation now. It's like, you know, they may lose some non-conference games, but Frank knows what he's doing once he gets in that league. And he knows how to win some conference games. So from that perspective, you do look at this team and you like what you have, but there is always kind of that little trepidation saying, like, man, I mean, it's not just coincidence. They have lost to the worst team on their schedule for each of the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the thing that's defined each of those seasons, more than the injuries, more than, you know, just not really taking advantage of that Final Four run, however people view that. And it's just like, you know, you're not going to get anywhere when you're South Carolina because you can't afford to have a bad loss. I mean, they beat Virginia, defending national champion, on the road last year, and it was great. And then they came home and lost to Stetson.
Yep.
And what does everybody talk about when they talk about last year?
Yep.
Stetson first and all the rest after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people forget about that Virginia win. There's no doubt. Dawn obviously feels great about her group. Anything worth noting there?
They're good.
Oh, Jamie,
I think they're really good.
They're gonna snatch some folks' ball this year. This team, I mean, not that they didn't last year, but this team has got everything you want. I mean, it's talented, it's deep, it's experienced. I know it's, again, maybe a little bit of a short bench, but it's nothing to really be concerned over. I'm honestly disappointed that just because they can't play as many games as they wanted to, they can't have that matchup with Oregon. They can't have potentially another matchup with Oregon down in the Bahamas. They can't play Maryland. They are going to play UConn. They're hopefully going to play Duke. And then, they've got the 16 games in the conference. But this team, I mean, the preseason poll will come out in probably around 3 to 4 weeks. They're going to be number 1, and they'll have earned it. This team has got a lot of firepower. It knows how to play defense. And, again, I can't stress it enough, especially from the team 2 years ago now. There is no underrating how much chemistry plays on a winning team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And this group loves each other. It's going to be really, really fun to watch.
And finally, we'll leave it here with baseball. Mark has spoken a little bit this week as well. Still a long ways to go before baseball season, but I from what I've kind of talked with Skylar here and there, I know they feel really good about their pitching staff this year. It is a deep and talented team. DC, have you been able to get out to scrimmages and see what they look like? And what is your feel from listening to Coach Kingston?
Yeah, I've been able to get out to a few, and of course, you know, you're going against yourself, and it's just a scrimmage and all that. But the talent is clearly there, Jamie. I mean, they've got so many options in so many places. It's frankly, you know, kind of an embarrassment of riches, particularly on the pitching staff. So that's exactly what you want to have. And you just got to go out there and prove it. I mean, the fact is that there's just been some decisions, some coaching decisions over the past couple of years that have really marred some of the progress that Mark Kingston has had. And the fact is like, you know, you have all this talent, so why aren't you just letting it go out there and play? But they've got a lot of legit ball players on this team. Not that the past 2 years didn't have them. It's just there's more of them now. And when your only problem, Jamie, is it's like, man, I've just got so many good guys and I don't have enough room to play them. That's a pretty good problem to have.
Yep.
I mean, I know that only 9 can play at a time, but especially on that pitching staff where you've got 15 guys who have touched 93 consistently this fall, really good problem to have. So just got to go out there and get through the rest of fall practice and start making some decisions. And I think that a decision on the schedule will probably be made next week. That's from an NCAA and SEC perspective about how many games you can play and what it's going to look like. But that's when you can really start, all right, let's wrap things up, get some teams on the schedule, and start going to work.
Yeah, the good thing with baseball, too, is there's so many teams in the state that you can play in those non-cons. Obviously, in addition to your conference slate, so really looking forward to that. All right, what are we looking forward to in the paper from the pen of the right hand of David Cloninger?
Well, guys, it's kind of the usual. Just some keys on how to beat Auburn. There'll be a few more basketball and baseball stories as the weeks progress, and then just how right now, as we speak, South Carolina's doing really well with COVID testing, and the rest of the conference can't say that. So it's like, well, how are they doing that? And so it's just kind of looking into some of the protocols they have, some of the initiatives they've put in for how they travel and how they sequester the night before a home game, and just how they're hopefully avoiding it. I mean, there's no 100% guarantee of how to not get COVID. I think we all know that by now. But what they've put in is like, look, so far what we've done is working. So hopefully it'll stay that way. I mean, still got a long way to go, but it's worked for the first 3 weeks.
You're right. It absolutely has. And I'll go ahead and answer the question that you've got. What does South Carolina need to do to beat Auburn? In the words of Steve Spurrier, well, we're going to have to score more points than they do.
That usually does come in handy. So,
you're on a roll talking like Steve Spurrier, man.
Yeah. Hopefully it will. I mean, it still boggles the mind about that 2006 game. As like Jared Cook, all-pro tight end, a guy who's really done it and done it well a lot of years. And still, what's he known for here?
Yep.
He
that
dropped
drop ball.
that pass that would have tied the game.
Yep.
But that's I wish I could say that was an unfamiliar feeling at South Carolina, but I remember I was on the goal line, on the sideline, staring right at the goal line, and it happened right in front of me.
Yep.
And I saw him go up, hit him right in the stomach, and just dropped it like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, I thought Savell Newton, I thought his head was going to explode. Like, I mean, what more can I do? Go up there and hand it to you?
I know.
But, it's things that happen, and, that game was weird. They kept the ball the whole third quarter.
Yeah.
And,
well,
maybe, who knows? I mean, it's a weird year. Maybe it'll get turned around this year, but it's obviously Auburn's favored. There's no reason they shouldn't be. But, favored or not, that hasn't really worked these past 2 weeks across the league. So maybe it's time for it to start coming around here in South Carolina.
Yeah, maybe that changes a little bit this weekend. There's been a lot of heartbreak against the Auburn Tigers in this series. 06, 2010 on the Plains, 2011 in Williams-Brice. Stephen was terrible, and then he got kicked off. The 2014 game, Auburn wins by a touchdown, 42-35, in a high-scoring affair. I mean, it was just, It'd be nice. I hope that's Will's message this week to his team. Look, the greatest era in the history of this school couldn't beat Auburn. They were 0-3 against them, 0-4 if you want to count 2014. You could be the first team to do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And he can recycle the same speech for Texas A&M in a few weeks.
That's right.
But,
yeah.
It's
and LSU.
It's just kind of the thing we're dealing with here. But fellas, it's a weird season. I mean, 3 weeks ago we were all talking about the genius of Mike Leach.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
That's right.
I mean, I understand that maybe it was just kind of a first week jitters kind of thing or fool's gold, but you scored 2 points against Kentucky?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
2
wasn't
points.
the offense.
Offensively, I'm like, okay. I mean, maybe you're not going to get as much, but Kentucky's defense ain't that good.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised Kentucky won. I'm just surprised that their defense, by all intents and purposes, pitched a shutout.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay. But crazy year, fellas. So we'll see if some of that cycles around the Williams-Brice on Saturday. And I am glad to see that next week at LSU is a 4 o'clock game. I got nothing against noon kickoffs. I really do love them. But when I'm going on the road and have travel to take into account, I do like to have some time to put my feet down and maybe, sample the local cuisine.
There you go. or brewery. Yeah, no, well said, man, absolutely. Thank you so much. It is a weird year, but you're obviously always doing an excellent job, and we certainly appreciate that around here. And hopefully Saturday you'll get an opportunity to write about the 2-2 Gamecocks with their first win over Auburn since joining the SEC about 28 years ago, man. So looking forward to it, and we'll chat with you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go, David Cloninger of the Post and Courier on Twitter at DCPNC. So I'm sure Corey's mad, so we're going to hit a quick timeout real quick.
I shot him a message.
Okay, when we come back, we'll go right to Corey McCartney. He's got all the Braves news out of Atlanta, Georgia. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
Listen to this station on your smartphone. Download the app now on Google Play Store.
What's up, everybody? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
All right, 12:42. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Darren, Jamie, and Corey. And we owe him an enormous apology, Corey. I'm so sorry we're late. We were catching up with David Cloninger of the Post and Courier, and there was a ton to get to on the Carolina front this week. And so I'm sorry. We'll send you a JB and Goldwater sticker and a T-shirt in the mail.
There you go. So not only that, but then you guys play a song that kind of pains me when we come in. So, I've been doing CrossFit for years, and that song, you put 135 pounds on your back for squats, and every time he says bring Sally up, down, you do squats for the entirety of the song. So that's like verbal abuse along with bringing me on here.
Aren't you a certified? Aren't you a CrossFit trainer?
I am, yeah. We took my garage years ago, and my garage is a CrossFit gym. So it's got the rig on the wall, we've got the mats everywhere, the rower. That's all. There's no cars in my garage. It's a CrossFit gym.
No COVID 30 for you.
Nope. No, we were plugging away the whole time. So whole family.
You're probably on the other end of this deal. You got to stay home. You were just working out the whole time.
Just gave me more chances. So
well,
get everybody in the schedule.
It'll get you through the playoffs, especially when the other guy scores 11 in the first inning. You got enough to get through it. Yeah, look, Corey, I think we all kind of figured at some point in time that, there'd be a chink in the armor somewhere with the Braves pitching staff. It didn't anticipate it to happen this way, towards the end of game 2 and then the start of last night's mess. But, they're still up 2-1. I want to throw this at you, first and foremost here. I mean, you've been around these guys. I mean, you've covered the Braves a long time. Almost every one of these guys, probably personally. I know that tonight maybe the matchup isn't great with Kershaw going against Bryce Wilson, but from a mentality standpoint, I do feel like the Braves have the right group to just kind of shake this thing off and go back out there and let's play again.
I mean, I'll tell you, Bryce Wilson is not the kind of guy that gets too worried about situations. His brother, plays football at NC State. He was a big football prospect himself. in high school as well. He just kind of has that linebacker mentality, and I think he just rolls things off and just goes and focuses on what he does and not so much the situation itself. So obviously when you see Bryce Wilson, who has never thrown a postseason inning, and you've got a Hall of Famer, soon to be Hall of Famer in Clayton Kershaw on the other side, it just looks absolutely daunting. I'm not going to dispute that, but I'll tell you, I think Bryce Wilson has the right mentality or the right mental approach for this kind of game. He's just got to stick with his stuff. I mean, he can't look at last night and be like, wow, I can't allow 11 first inning runs. He just has to go out there and stick with his stuff and just hope that he can do enough to keep his team in the game.
Yeah, and the rest of these guys, I mean, and the young guys, I mean, the Acuñas of the world, the Albies, the Dansbys, the Austin Rileys, we could go on and on here. I mean, Pache got his first home run of his career last night. That was neat to see, and they took a picture in the dugout, and they're down by 30 runs, and I mean, I feel like they get it. They're naive enough to understand, like, look, we might be getting our asses beat here, but it is only one loss. We're still leading the series. We still get to go play tomorrow. I mean, I feel like that mentality works for Atlanta, and if they get a good start from Wilson tonight, it can work again.
Yeah, and if you want to think back to, those down moments in Braves postseason history, I mean, Freddie Freeman is the only guy on this roster that was there in 2012 when they lost to the Dodgers in the NLDS that season. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys were there in 18 when they were overmatched by him, but that was a really young group. This wasn't nowhere near a finished product at that point. So I think guys like Acuña, Albies, they could care less. I mean, Dansby Swanson's is really, I mean, if you talk to him, he's very much a guy who is really into, personal psychology and positive mindsets and all that stuff. I will guarantee you they left the clubhouse yesterday and said, we're leaving this game in this clubhouse. And when we come here tomorrow, just remember we've got a 2-1 series lead.
How from Brian Snitker's perspective as the manager, how, and being around him and how he's managed this team, talk about that relationship and how that can contribute to just leaving that behind.
I mean, I think honestly, he'll look at last night and say, okay, Huascar Ynoa came in and really helped us out and saved this bullpen. Jacob Webb was strong. We only had to use one guy, Shane Green, that was really part of that bullpen core for us. I think, as he said last night, if this was a 7-5 loss in which they would have burned through Will Smith and Mark Melanson and had to, and Chris Martin and had to throw all those guys out there and still lost, I think they'd have a very different mindset. It was a blowout from the beginning, so they were able to adjust their pitching mindset throughout and kind of just hit reset today. I mean, obviously, the Dodgers have a lot of momentum. We know how powerful that offense is. The last thing you wanted to do was give them an inch, and they got a mile last night. So from that end, it's dire, but they've still got a series lead, and their bullpen still lined up for this outing without question.
That's a really good point.
It was.
That's a really good point. When it comes to, because the one thing I think, Corey, we all knew coming into the postseason for the Braves, which was most important from a managerial standpoint, but obviously most important from a performance standpoint, was the pitching staff. Like they were going to have to be very careful with how they manage this. So, if no matter what happens tonight, they're still playing tomorrow. Where are they? From a pitching standpoint, as it pertains to obviously who's left in the bullpen, but like. We have to worry about Bryce tonight, but who would even start the game tomorrow? I'm trying to get that answer so I could kind of get a little bit perspective on how the bullpen might be used tonight.
Well, at this point, Snit has not been forthcoming with any of those plans. I'm sure they've worked through a lot of scenarios today. I would anticipate you're going to see Max Fried tomorrow. I think it just makes sense. There's no way that you want to give the Dodgers a 3-2 series lead by going to another bullpen game or potentially even turning it over to Josh Tomlin and letting him, even though he has World Series experience, to allow him to be an opener of sorts tomorrow. I don't think you can go basically 3 straight bullpen games. I think you've got to get the ball back into the hands of Max Fried and Ian Anderson. I think you see them the next 2 nights. We'll just see how much does their bullpen get taxed tonight, because I think that's going to be key on how much they really need those two in the next 2 games.
All right, so Kershaw is going to get the ball, at least he's scheduled to as of now, and I'm expecting we will see him. The back spasms issue. I mean, he's had this issue before. How serious is this? How much should we be paying attention to Clayton Kershaw in the minutes leading up to the ball game, and what are we looking for when the game starts?
I mean, I honestly think it's a lot like Walker Buehler, right? I mean, and Buehler's dealt with a lot of those blister issues, and he had become, through a lot of this postseason, a 4-inning pitcher. I think you're looking at Kershaw and saying if you can get deep into a game with him, then that's what you get. But you're going into this with a guy that has the resume. He knows how to pitch. In this situation, the Braves have not been good against left-handed pitching overall. I know Ozzie always loves it, but the rest of them, they're hitting about 100 points lower collectively against left-handed pitchers. So, I think you get what you can from Kershaw, and then you'll set it up maybe tomorrow. Dustin May gets that start, and then you pick it up as a pseudo bullpen for a game for the Dodgers, and then see where it sets itself up from there. But I would think with that extra time off and in the gravity of this situation, I think you're going to get Clayton Kershaw try to be vintage Clayton Kershaw tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. Corey McCartney's with us here talking about the postseason, obviously. We got the Braves and the Dodgers game 4 tonight. You just said that they left it behind them in the dugout, what happened yesterday. If the Dodgers dominate, if you get vintage Kershaw tonight, if he goes out there and, I don't know, say 2-3 hits, it's a shutout, and the offense erupts again, how differently do the Braves feel about a series that's now 2-2?
I think you're really worried about it. And certainly anytime the second time around you see a pitcher, there's going to be adjustments made. As much as we talked about this last week, that you go into a series with, the situation this year where you didn't see every team, that you feel the pitching has a little bit of an edge. That's going to be out the window on his next time around. They've now seen, they're going to potentially see Ian Anderson for a second time. They're going to get that much more familiar with Max Fried. So I think that kind of levels the playing field a bit. I think we could get into a shootout territory in this next game, depending on what Kershaw does tonight. So a little dire, though, when you think about the fact that, in LCS history, teams that won the first 2 games have been 28-3. 28-3, of course, for Atlanta fans was the score of the Super Bowl before they ended up losing to the Patriots. So not trying to paint a sad picture.
Dig that
there,
knife
just,
in.
Yeah, thanks, man.
A little statistical nugget.
Yeah. What does this lineup look like tonight for Atlanta with the lefty on the bump? Do we see what we saw last night with Camargo in there?
I think you're going to see Markakis. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get in there and get an opportunity. I don't know that I would go that route. He really hasn't been Nick Markakis for 2 years. Since his All-Star season, we've seen him really kind of slide back. Snit loves Markakis. I think they find a way to get him involved. Camargo did look good last night. I think obviously he had the ability to bring him in, but I think you'll see Markakis get an opportunity tonight.
He's a seasoned vet. Some managers, that's their thing.
I saw an interesting note today that just came across that if this game goes 7, Game 7's on a Sunday. So is the Packers and Bucks, and Joe Buck, speaking of Bucks, is going to do the football game, and Joe Davis is actually going to slide in and call Game 7, which is fairly odd, but normally you don't have that crossover.
Well,
there you go.
That's huge news there, Corey, for the performance of the Braves.
For the nerds like me, it is.
But if you monitor Braves Twitter last night, I think they would be more than willing to not see Joe Buck do a Braves postseason game. They weren't happy with him.
Yeah, well, get over that because he's the best there is.
I love Buck. Yeah, if Buck isn't calling the game Game 7, Corey, how do you think that affects Ozzie Albies' performance?
Well, how does it affect John Smoltz's performance, which does have a correlation?
Yeah, the Braves have the Braves fingers are all over the postseason, man. You got what's his name out there calling the other ball game?
Frank Core's doing the other game.
Frenchie, Jeff Francoeur. Yeah, and before that, Chipper was on some of the
and Francoeur was committed to Clemson, so I'm imagining you not knowing his name has a little bit to do with that South Carolina Clemson.
No,
he won't even drink orange Gatorade, Corey.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Neither of my kids. No. Yeah, someone thought we were going to dress them as pumpkins for Halloween. I said, what, pumpkins are orange. Why would we do that? No, I'm kidding, Corey. But to kind of wrap this up on what we've seen here in the first couple of games, with the Dodgers in Atlanta, and then I do want to move on and get some perspective on the American League Championship Series. I don't know where I saw this, either late last night or early this morning, but Corey, from what I understand, somebody in that locker room grabbed Kyle Wright, is this true, and said, look, we need you to win the National League Championship Series, so get over it. It happened, and you're going to have to pitch again. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. And, I think they do know that they're going to have to need him again. And, I think you kind of need those snap out of it moments. And, Josh Tomlin has been the pitching coach, a pseudo pitching coach for him. And remember, he's the guy who told him to slide over on the mound, and then you saw him rattle off 4 consecutive starts. So yes, they have actual managers, but these players are taking it upon themselves to police each other. And again, as we said from the offset, they're not willing to let things carry over from game to game.
Well, that's the best way to play the game, if you ask me. All right, the Rays and the Astros. Tampa's got another shot to end this sucker tonight out at Petco Park, or late this afternoon, our time. 5:07 Eastern is when they'll throw the first pitch on TBS. And, of course, the Astros able to get their first win of the series last night. The score 4-3, a one-run game. Zach Greinke got the win over Tyler Glasnow. A very simple question to start here, though. Does Tampa end it today?
I think they do. They've obviously at this point, I mean, right before we came on, I checked, they still have not made the announcements and the pitchers for tonight.
Right.
So Josh Fleming, a lefty, could go for Tampa to start. You could have Blake Snell go on short rest. I think they go with Blake Snell. One thing we've seen with Cash is he's not going to do what you think he's going to do. So I could be wrong in saying, and obviously having a take on this from that end, but I think they're going to lay the hammer down. I don't think they're going to give the Astros any more breathing room. I think they're going to get as much rest as they can while the Dodgers and Braves kind of trade punches. I think it's over tonight.
How much credit to the Rays front office, to their analytical staff? Because the Astros have been tearing the cover off the ball and hitting it right at them.
This is the best defense in baseball. I mean, and it's everywhere. I mean, they are just so good defensively. And Cash is just such a tactician. I mean, I think whatever matchup you get next is going to be really compelling because, Brian Snitker's obviously a guy who's much more old school, heavy. He's taken some of the stuff from Alex Anthopoulos and worked those analytics into his game. But he's nowhere near that tactician that you get from Cash. And then, Dave Roberts, up until a year ago, we saw him doing platoons like almost all the time. And the Dodgers are really analytical heavy, but he's not necessarily that guy 100% either. I think it's going to set itself up to be really compelling if it's the Rays and either of those guys.
How comparable are the Rays to the Braves when you look at how they've built this organization? A lot of the young guys they've got in there, things like that.
Well, they're two teams that are not going to go out and outspend anybody. I mean, I think that's the main piece between both of them. The Braves have a little bit more to play with Liberty Media, which owns Formula One racing as this major conglomerate as opposed to the Rays and what they have. But Tampa Bay is very much, we're going to grow our guys, and we're not necessarily going to go out and always bring in additional pieces. And the Braves are kind of so much that same way. But the Rays are just so heavy into the analytics. I mean, I just can't imagine a scenario where, they would use Tyler Glasnow, the Braves would, in the same way to get out of the last series that the Cash did. It's just, Snitker's not built like that. So with no off days this series, I think it's been really compelling to see how the two of them handle their additional arms past their starters.
So now, where did this Arozarena guy come from? We've been watching him for a couple of weeks.
Apparently, because the Rays have the second most hits this postseason, and Arozarena has 26% of them.
Oh man,
he has 26% of his team's hits in the postseason, and they're second in hits.
He's
unreal.
He's 19 of 43 in the postseason. You know how big you want to know how big this kid is?
5 homers too. Yeah,
he's 5'11", which no big deal there.
So am I.
170.
I'm not that.
5'11", 170. He's 25 years old, from Havana, Cuba, right outside of where Corey's from. I'm kidding.
My question with him is it real? Because remember, Daniel Murphy had a ridiculous postseason and he got paid.
Yep,
that's true.
So what's going to happen with Arozarena? Is this going to change the scope of what we think of a guy having a really strong postseason? I mean, he's had some time. He had 175% over league average this season, but we've not seen him do this consistently. So I think this is going to be really wild to see what happens or how we view him after this is over with.
Is it best case scenario the Rays are up tonight like the Dodgers were last night? They're up in the ninth, like 11-0, and then they just go, okay, you know what? For all the cheating stuff, we're just going to hit like 6 guys in a row.
I almost like let's just let the Rays get embarrassed, the Astros get embarrassed on the field.
Okay.
I guess I'm not about. I mean, some of that stuff to me is kind of played out. We know they did it. They're not going to win this series. Let's just let them take their beating and go home.
No, that's what I'm saying. Take their beating. All right. So real quick before we let you go here. So Pache hits the home run last night. Love the note I saw from you on Twitter. 4th youngest player to ever homer in the postseason at 21 years old, 330 days. And those in front of him are Ronald Acuna Jr., Brian McCann, and Hall of Famer Andrew Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Pache got thrust into this thing, right? I mean, I was kind of surprised he was even on the postseason roster when he got 4 ABs in the regular season. And Brian Snitker kept saying we only need him out there for defense and kept playing Ender Inciarte on over him. He got pushed in this with Adam Duvall, and he owned the moment last night, even though, I mean, the game was – I guarantee you 5-10 years from now, if you ask Christian Pache what the score was when he hit his first postseason home run, he will not be able to tell you. He'll only be able to tell you about that exact AB.
No, I bet he can't tell you today. I bet he doesn't know what the score was today.
They just had to mentally just say, forget it. Like,
oh yeah,
let's just get through this thing.
I bet he did. I bet he didn't even know what the score was when he walked to the plate.
It's possible,
honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Why do you even look at the scoreboard? I mean, you know you're getting your ass beat. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, you just got to go up there and do what you got to do. Well, and I heard the story, and I know we're rolling through the top of the hour, but we're going to do that because we backed you up so far. I heard the story, and I guess Pache told the story. Maybe he tweeted it or something that that Andrew Jones is basically his mentor.
Yeah,
that's neat.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, you know, and he's kind of been that for a lot of these outfielders these past few years. Because once he retired, the Braves kind of brought him in, as they had with Fred McGriff and Chipper Jones and Tom Glavine, as kind of these, you know, special assistants to the general managers, and they basically come down and serve as fielding instructors for a couple of days at spring training. But that's allowed Pache and, you know, Acuna to grow really close with Andrew Jones, and they both kind of hit him up all the time, asking him questions. I mean, as much as they talk about Pache being the next Andrew Jones, to be able to use his as a resource, I mean, that has to be an unbelievable thing for a young player.
Well, no wonder Acuna smiles all the time. Andrew always had a smile on his face. Even when he wasn't smiling, he was smiling. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
My aunt used to get so upset. Why he just struck out? Why is he smiling? I said, I think that's just how he looks. I mean, you know, but that's, hey, look, those are all Hall of Famers, including Andrew Jones, all special assistants.
If you say it enough, maybe it'll just come true.
It's going to come true. Somebody's going to get this done here before long. It's still frustrating me. All right, anything worth noting that we have not pointed out to this point?
No, I mean, look, I know last night was dire for a lot of Braves fans, but they're still up 2-1, and they still got potentially Anderson and Free getting the ball in their hands. So
that's right.
The sky's not falling in Atlanta quite yet. I just checked. It's not.
So you, by the way, I think we just got an update here. It looks like Tampa's going to start John Curtis tonight. Have you seen that?
No, that would have just came in because minutes before we came on, they had not made an announcement. Him and Cash and Dusty Baker were still playing mental chess with each other.
Yeah, it looks like John, but he it can't be. I'll have to check this. I mean, he threw an inning 2 nights ago. Oh, I guess they are going to start him. Okay, all right. Well, it looks like John Curtis is going for Tampa. So, but what you're saying here is after tonight, tomorrow, expect to probably see Fried, and then if it goes, if it's going beyond that, then expect to see Ian Anderson in Game 6, and then just whatever in Game 7. They'll just have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go back to Wright in Game 7. He may have an opportunity to pitch again, but I don't think you can go with him in a starting role. But look, I mean, you brought in 15 pitchers for a reason, so I think you're going to see – we've seen 12 of them so far. So I think you're going to see all these guys get an opportunity before it's all said and done.
Go Braves. 3-1 tonight. Bryce Wilson throws a no-hitter, and they win the game 1-0.
If you put like $2 on that on mybookie.ag, you could win – I think it's about $500.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at that last night, saying, "Should I throw $2 on a no hitter?" And I didn't do it.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I don't think I'm doing that based on what I saw of the Dodgers last night. Corey, thank you so much, man. Pull them through, and hopefully we'll be talking about the World Series next Thursday when we have you on again. Okay?
It's going to happen regardless. So
yeah, that's true.
We will talk about it. All right, thanks, guys.
If they go to the World Series, are you going?
I don't want to go to Texas.
Oh, all right.
No. It's fair.
I get it. Yeah, I think you
right, guys.
Call Chipper. He's got the Double Dime Ranch out there. He could get you in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Does.
All right.
Later, man.
See ya.
All right.
And Corey McCartney on Twitter at Corey J. McCartney. All right, we're 4 minutes past the hour. We're past due for a break. It is a buy one, get one half off Thursday at DV's Cheesesteaks. Don't forget, dvscheesesteaks.com for the entire menu. Drive through at West Ashley. Pick it up in Avondale. Eat there if you'd like to. Or Order online, any delivery app, they'll deliver. dbscheesesteaks.com for their entire menu. Buy one, get one half off all day on Thursday. Footlongs. The footlongs. All right, timeout. When we return, we've got more football to get to. How about Coastal? We got Scott Glaze ahead as well. What's Tiger doing to prepare for the Masters, which starts exactly 1 month from today, and much, much more. So hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back. The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for him. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. dbscheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 108, welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show. As Patrick Davis just told you, live, loud, and online. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We're here until 2 o'clock today, so a little over 50 minutes left in our program. That's Darren. I'm Jamie. Go ahead to jbandgoldwatershow.com to find all of our available platforms. You can watch us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, listen on the Podbean app. It's all free. You can tweet to us as well. At JB and Goldwater, at Sports Radio JB, at Darren Goldwater. I'm sure you remember all of this. You can also call us and text us 843-321-8893 and and all those apps. There's other ways to get a hold of us. So just, if you got something to say, just say it.
I'll say this.
Just come out and say it.
You know how much you love the Atlas and the Crossport that you've seen at Stokes Volkswagen?
Yeah.
Well, $3,000 off MSRP right now, 0% financing on all new Stokes Volkswagens right now.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
$3,000 off MSRP for both the Atlas and the Crossport, 0% financing, all Stokes Volkswagen.
He's trying to lose money over there? What are they doing?
Trying to give us cars.
I know. It's a good time. We're gonna drive one of those tomorrow in our weekly road trip.
Got to decide where we're going.
I know where we're going.
Okay.
I'm not telling anybody. Secret until we get there tomorrow. 843-321-8893. Again, that's our phone number. It's also our text line. Scott Glade's coming up in a little bit. What's Tiger doing to try to win back-to-back Masters championships? He's going to tell you here in just a little bit, so hang tight. Real quick, though, from the NFL, if you haven't heard, the Falcons have shut down their practice facility, and just a little while ago, there was what we had seen, only one positive COVID test, and it wasn't even a player. It was a staff member. Apparently, that has increased itself, Darren, right?
Yeah, so the latest report in the graphic I didn't have time to fix. The graphic says one, but the latest report is now multiple players. I'm not sure players, but personnel associated with the Falcons.
Okay.
So lump everyone in together, but there are multiple positive tests now with Atlanta.
And as of now, the game this weekend is still on. We haven't heard a cancellation, but obviously that could change quickly, as we all know how this works. Also, if you missed it, Tulsa and Cincinnati postponed from this weekend as well. Cincinnati dealing with a COVID outbreak of their own, and so they won't play that game. Tulsa won't have a shot at another top 25. This one would be a top 10 upset of the Bearcats if they were able to pull it off. Been rescheduled for December 5th, so I do think that is 3 games postponed this weekend, though we should be keeping our eyes on Ole Miss and Arkansas. Ole Miss dealing with a little bit of an issue, but as of yesterday, Lane Kiffin said they could play. They could play. Now, the issue with Florida apparently has been clarified, and they are, according to contact tracing and all that type of stuff lumped in together, they're below the threshold of scholarship players. He said he doesn't know the exact number, but he knows they're below 50, and you have to have 53.
Yeah, that's why yesterday when the conversation was, well, are they kind of pushing the limits here just to get this game canceled? You got to be below that limit. You can't just cancel the game because I got a couple starters out and Brennan's hurt. Let's just push this thing back. It does seem as though the Florida outbreak is pretty bad.
Okay, so thoughts and prayers, and hopefully the Gators get back on the field, and the Tigers, they're scheduled to play that game on December the 12th, which we'll see what it means at that point in time, but it could mean something for the SEC championship game. I would think more pertaining to Florida at that point. Obviously, depending on what they do with Georgia and Jacksonville, but obviously we'll keep our eyes on that. Last night in college football, there was one college football game that I'm sure you all turned to quickly when the Braves gave up 11 in the first 3 outs of the game. 30-27, the first top 25 win in the history of the program for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They're now 4-0, and I think we can all probably expect them to creep into the top 25 next week, even with the Big Ten beginning play next weekend. Of course, they're already in the rankings, the Big Ten is, and we'll see what else happens this coming week here. But Coastal, with that win over the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns, who've dropped to 3-1, are undefeated. There was a graphic on the screen last night that showed Clemson as the best team in the state of South Carolina and Coastal as the second best team in the state of South Carolina.
Oh, that didn't make you happy, did it?
No, I actually didn't see it. I don't even know how I missed it. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody had screenshotted it and put it on there. I mean, based on record, that's not even true. Actually, they would be the same, Clemson and Coastal. But do you believe Coastal Carolina is the second best team in the state of South Carolina? They were supposed to open this year with the Gamecocks.
I will say this. I think the Gamecocks caught a huge break not having to play Coastal Carolina.
You think they would have lost the game?
I think it's certainly possible. It's hard to say. Well, it's hard to say for sure if they would have lost the game to Coastal. But let's take a step back here. No one thought Coastal would be as good as they are right now. They jumped on a Big 12 team. Now, granted, Kansas is trash, but to open the year, demolished Kansas. So I think it's absolutely reasonable to think that the Gamecocks would have been, assuming it would have been an easier game than it would have been, This is a better team than we all thought it was going to be. And I think it would have been a very, very close game. And do I think that, yeah, I think they probably would have beaten South Carolina.
Yeah, I
do
totally
think
disagree with that.
I do.
I'll say this. I give all the credit in the world to Jamie Chadwell and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They are 4-0. What's been impressive about this stretch is the amount of points that they're scoring. 38, 43, 52, 30 last night against Lafayette. Their offense obviously is good, and they know how to put points on the board up there in Conway. It's not Myrtle Beach. It is Conway, South Carolina, for those of you out there that still reference them as being in Myrtle Beach. No, they've always been in Conway. I actually think with what you've seen this year from an explosive play standpoint with South Carolina, that Coastal – again, we're dealing in a hypothetical situation here, but that they probably could have scored a couple more points than people would have thought they would have. You might have looked out there and said, my God, Coastal Carolina scored 21 or 24 points or whatever it is. But I don't think that they would have beat South Carolina. I think if you look at the lines of scrimmage for Coastal, although they're a good team, they would have been manhandled by South Carolina.
Well, think about how South Carolina started the year, right? The line of scrimmage wasn't very good.
Yeah, but their center's like 5'10", 260.
Okay.
He would have been crushed.
I hear what you're saying. I do. I hear what you're saying. But again, it's not as though South Carolina has this big-time explosive offense. We know they can put up some points. We know they can have drives. We know that Kevin Harris is coming into his own. But the defense has had its moments. I think Coastal's offense would have given that defense fits.
I did know. Look, I do too. With the issues we saw in the first couple of weeks, and even there were some last week that I know will, from a coaching standpoint, this isn't language that we can sit here and regurgitate, because he's talking about run fits and filling gaps and who's in this gap and that gap and why you come up here and what based on what defense you're in, whether it's a linebacker or whether you got your safety, all those things. That's just going to make people's heads spin, because they just want to bitch and moan about the games. They don't want to understand them. When it comes to Coastal, I'm just putting this very simple. I'm not taking anything away from them, and I'm not even saying that they couldn't or wouldn't have, but I'm just saying from my perspective, they would not have beaten South Carolina.
Right.
And they are not the, quote, second best team in the state. If you just want to look at records, sure, they are. But if they played today, I would pick South Carolina to win by a minimum of 2 touchdowns, if not more.
If they played in week 1,
I would have picked South Carolina to win, but I don't know that it would have been, 35-7 or something like that, which is what probably people would think it would be. I think it would have been something like 30-23 or 30-20 or something, where you're in the fourth quarter going, geez Louise, if this thing goes wrong, this could be really bad.
Yep.
But I think they would have won.
And then Coastal would have gotten there, and they would have been a better team than expected.
They would have been a better team than expected with a loss, but that didn't happen. And it's a hypothetical.
It's fun to consider.
It is.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing about Coastal, is this conversation pertains strictly to the Chanticleers.
Yes.
The question is, where is Coastal Carolina headed? That's the question, because they have a glittery, beautiful ballpark now in Conway. They put a bunch of money. The Springs family and the Brooks family, they've dumped a bunch of money into that program, that athletics department. You've been to the baseball stadium, right? It's there's a reason why they have a national championship.
Yes.
That's Coastal Carolina in baseball is right. Coastal Carolina and Clemson in South Carolina. I mean, we can have that conversation all day. They're all right there.
Yes.
But when you talk about football, the question as it pertains to the Chanticleers, and I'm not going to sit here and try to even proclaim myself as some expert on Coastal Carolina Chanticleer football, because that would be I'd be lying to you. We do what we need to do to cover them when we need to cover them, and there's not a huge emphasis in our program on the Chanticleers. There probably needs to be more of one.
Yep.
But as it pertains to where they are in the Sun Belt, I think that this team can continue to get better and potentially be on the cusp of that UCF Cincinnati line. And let me give you 2 reasons why. Facilities, and location,
and money.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd already mentioned that. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. The facilities. I mean, they've got the money to. You can't have a facility without money. That's what I mean by that. But in location, there is how many teams do you know on the East Coast that play literally almost at the beach? Their program is essentially outside of Miami.
Yeah, I think FAU is close. But other than that, I mean, I guess the Citadel can say
South Florida. They're in Tampa,
right?
I mean at the D1 level, at this level, the FBS level
on the East Coast. Yeah, no,
there's not
many. You got to go to Florida.
You've got to and there's one in this state, and as a matter of fact, there's one in this stretch of East Coast states right here. It's coastal. So, like, if you're that caliber of player, right? If you are a group of 5 type player, Darren, and clearly they're scheduling games. They were supposed to play South Carolina this year. They didn't. They've beaten Kansas twice. They've got other Power 5s in the future on there. Why can they not be App State? Why can they not be Central? I know Central Florida has 50,000 students. I get that, but you don't recruit students. You recruit football players. So the student population means nothing in this conversation. So, like, why can they? I think they absolutely can. Why? Do you want to go freeze your rear end off up in the mountains of Boone, or are you a guy that wants to go be able to enjoy the beach in your off time, the little that you have down in South Carolina?
Here's why they can be the next UCF or Cincinnati. It's because of teams like App State and Georgia Southern that can be in that realm, and Louisiana that's there too. The Sun Belt is a rapidly improving conference, as we've all now seen on the national stage this year. So because of that, as Coastal grows, their competition is growing along with them. And yes, that's how you can then take that next step. It'll be interesting when Coastal plays App State this year. Looking forward to that matchup, even though App isn't exactly – we haven't seen them on the field here in a little bit. But, the facilities up at App State, everything you mentioned about Coastal is the same at App State. Their stadium is
neat,
fantastic.
Really
I've been
cool
there
atmosphere.
many times. Yes, It's a great, great atmosphere. The city of Boone, town of Boone, whatever it is.
Beautiful.
I happen to love it. It used to be my favorite road trip when I was back in the SoCon days. Absolutely love Boone. So they're not going anywhere. And Coastal Carolina, with its resources, remember Joe Moglia has some pockets.
Yeah, a little bit.
And there's constantly money there for all of those programs. They can elevate themselves. And you constantly hear as well about programs at a school helping each other elevate. That's an advantage Coastal has that other schools in the Sun Belt don't. App State basketball has never really been able to get it going. It's been a while for Coastal too. Baseball, there's no discussion. Georgia Southern thinks it has a strong baseball history. It does. They're not Coastal.
No.
They're not Coastal.
Under Gary, Coastal's.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on a national stage, you have more chances to grow collectively as a program. And I think that's why Coastal is then put ahead of the other programs in the South.
Look, I even think that the Coastal baseball run actually helped the entire athletics department, the football program.
Yep.
People started throwing money into it. They were on a national level. There were athletes out there, even football players, seeing, well, where is this place? Conway. Where the hell is Conway? Shoot, that's Myrtle Beach.
Right.
Everybody's heard of Myrtle Beach, especially if you're from Ohio. So, but the thing with Coastal, too, like as it pertains to this state, obviously all the reasons we just mentioned here, they've got incredible facilities. I do think that the coaching staff's a great coaching staff up there. I think Jamie's done a nice job of putting assistant coaches together. But let me kind of throw something a little bit different at you. And this, I'm not in any way, shape, or form taking a shot at Clemson. So let me finish what I'm saying here. Because of Clemson's success, there are more players in this state who can go play at Coastal, because Clemson recruits border to border now. There are very few guys that Clemson identifies each year. Very few. When I mean very few, I mean like 1 to 4, maybe 5. That they would like to recruit in the state of South Carolina, either as a scholarship guy or, okay, we're accepting walk-ons. This kid really wants to be here. He is a talented kid, but he's not a scholarship guy for Clemson. South Carolina has actually won the recruiting battle in this state over Clemson for the last couple of years.
Right.
They've out-recruited the Tigers in this state. You can look at that however you want to, whether Clemson has really pushed for some of these guys. I know they have, at least for 2 of them. Zach Pickens and Jordan Burch. Gamecocks beat them for both of them, all right? They haven't beat them on the field. They beat them there. And then there's some other guys that they're just not at the top of the Clemson list. There are SEC, ACC type players. Carolina's getting those guys, but that pool is bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so because Clemson is able to go recruit the top 3 or 4 wide receivers in the country, whether they're from Maine or LA, the top offensive linemen in the country, whether they're from Seattle or Miami, the top offensive linemen in this state, okay, maybe they want to go to South Carolina, but then that next guy is you can still go play incredible Division I football right down the street in Conway.
Right.
So, and this is a talented football state. It always has been. It doesn't mean we have the same numbers as Texas or California or Florida, but it's always been a 2-team battle in this state for the top players. And now some of these battles are shifting to 2-team battles, but without Clemson.
Right.
And I don't mean that. I hope Clemson fans aren't thinking that I'm saying anything. I'm not.
No.
They recruit at a different level right now. There are other kids now who are going, or coming up, will be coming up 14, 15, 16 years old, seeing Coastal, seeing South Carolina and going, you know what, I can stay right here, and I can, obviously, if I can play in the SEC, I'd love to do that. But if for some reason I can, or I'm going to be waiting around 2 or 3 years to play, I can go right to Myrtle or Conway and play.
Right. The combination of Coastal's success and Clemson's success makes that possible. It's a very good point because, as you said, if Clemson wanted some of those guys, they would go and they would get those guys. But they're around because of Clemson's success, and they're not going for the 3-star kid. They're not going necessarily for the 4-star kid. They're going for the best of the best and only the best of the best. So it makes a lot of sense. And yes, that's how some of the smaller programs grow. And, you know, if you tie that into the COVID stuff as well, remember when we were talking with Skylar Meade, and we've talked to other coaches about this as well, and now winter athletes have been given another year of eligibility. So there are number issues at a lot of these big schools, and that will affect the smaller schools in a very positive way. You're going to get some of the top talent because those guys are going to think they're not going to have a chance to play at these bigger schools simply from a numbers perspective. But now, hey, maybe I can go to Coastal and beat out the guy who's playing second. Maybe I can go to Coastal and beat out that wide receiver because I think I'm better than him. But I can't go to Carolina and can't go to Clemson and beat out those wide receivers. I'll go to Coastal. So, I mean, you tie all that in, and maybe they have a chance, ironically enough, to actually get better because of this.
Well, another exceptional example of this is the team that Coastal beat last night, the Raging Cajuns from Louisiana. So obviously, we're not dumb. We in the state of Louisiana, you're either, if you're good enough, you go to LSU. That's the way it is. If LSU extends a scholarship offer to you, that's where you're going to play. 9 out of 10 kids who can play the sport of football in Louisiana grow up LSU fans. Even if they move there from somewhere else and they're not an LSU fan, they become one quickly. That's how it is down there. But because of LSU's success, LSU not only did, I mean, don't get me wrong, they take care of their backyard. They always want local kids, always have, and always will. That's a great model to have. But the state of Louisiana does have a lot of really good football.
Yeah.
And if you go look at the Raging Cajuns roster, the overwhelming majority of players are from that state. Now, they do have a lot of kids from Texas and a couple other places, and really in Louisiana, you don't have to recruit. The Raging Cajuns don't have to go anywhere outside of Louisiana and Texas to recruit. But what they've done is, because LSU is, even though they're struggling to start the season, their program is an elite top 5 level.
Yeah.
So they get kids from everywhere, just like Clemson does. But that frees up a lot of these kids in the state who now don't necessarily have that opportunity anymore. And Billy Napier, he figured that out. There used to be a thought process in a place like Louisiana, certainly here, places like Georgia, and a lot of these states where you have these major big time. There's only 1 or maybe 2 top tier programs. Well, you're not going to get the kids from in those states. They're all going there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are until these teams get to a different level, and then they can recruit kids from everywhere.
Right.
And so that happened for the Gamecocks under Coach Spurrier. Once they kind of got into an elite level, they started signing kids from all over the place. In addition to taking care of their home state, that's what got them there, was signing the best players out of their home state. But the Raging Cajuns identified that, and they're like, okay, so LSU is offering kids from all over the country. We need to go be the first to offer kids in the state. Even when they get that LSU offer, they're going to be intrigued by it. We know it. But that kid is not guaranteed to go to LSU because LSU is still going to recruit the other best players in the nation. And then we're going to be right here a landing spot for them. That's what they've done. That's what Coastal has an opportunity to do. That's the same model.
Yeah.
Because of what Clemson's done.
Yes, and you can throw the other Sun Belt teams that we talked about into that. You can put App State in that and Georgia Southern, although they were more established programs at the 1AA FCS level before they took the jump than Coastal was by a long shot. But the success of regional schools, Georgia, Georgia Southern, LSU, Louisiana, same thing. App State, I bet you North Carolina's success and Clemson's success is having an impact positively on App State. The fact that they beat South Carolina last year, that helps because you're showing not only are we getting the players, we can get the wins. And same thing with Coastal. It's the same thing with Louisiana right now.
Absolutely. And, Georgia State is a similar model to what Sean Elliott figured all this out. Hey, I'm in Atlanta.
Yep.
All these kids can't go to Georgia and Georgia Tech. I'm in Atlanta, dude.
I got 1 billion athletes right here.
We're playing in the old Braves Stadium. I mean, the Sun Belt is a neat story, and some of these coaches are doing it the right way. The next question for Coastal is if they continue this success, does Jamie Chadwell start to get some looks in other places, or, is he still maybe a year or two away? We'll see. But, these next couple of games will certainly be challenges for them. Don't look at the record. Don't look at the 2-1 record for Georgia Southern. That's their next game next weekend. They have like 10 days to prep for that game. It is at home, and that's nationally televised. ESPNU at noon.
Coastal's a better football team than Georgia Southern.
They are, but the ultimate denominator here. That's the option.
Yeah.
I mean, so don't look at that record. It's an interesting matchup. And then the following week they go to Atlanta and Georgia State. There could be a lot of points in that one.
The Coastal and Georgia Southern are very, very similar because they are option-based, but both now throw it very well too.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of option components in it, but there's also the ability to hit you over the top often and fling it around. I mean, Georgia Southern's not the same Urk Russell, Georgia Southern from the past, and Jeff Monken, like when they were we're just option and we're going to kill you with it. Now it's much more of a dynamic type offense, just like Coastal.
And Shai Wertz has done a nice job with it as well. We'll see where Coastal goes, but they're 4-0. They're 2-0 in the league, and I anticipate that they'll be above 500 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Not that it even matters because it has been approved by the NCAA that you don't have to be 500 to go bowling this year, which I think is just an absolute travesty.
They're making sure the bowls get their money.
Whatever. I mean,
the bowl games are meaningless to fans for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
they matter to the coaches, to the players for the extra work, and then the players get swag, and that's cool.
Still feel like you need to
earn it. Yeah, I agree.
HolyCityDriveIn.com. HolyCityDriveIn.com for this weekend's drive-in movie series over at Patriots Point. Tomorrow night, it's a double dip. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street. Back to back. Back your truck in. It's going to be a chilly night over on the banks of the Cooper River right there at the foot of the Ravenel Bridge. What a great night to have family night for a drive-in movie series over at Patriots Point. HolyCityDriveIn.com. You can view the trailers of these movies. If you can't remember for some reason, I would think you probably can remember those two quite well. You can also purchase your tickets, and you can also get showtimes and much, much more. So HolyCityDriveIn.com. PatriotsPoint.org for more to tour the museum. It's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow. I think a little bit of rain maybe early, and then after that, gorgeous. So maybe tour the museum at Patriots Point and watch the movie, order some food, order some drinks, and enjoy the night with your family, leading into another fantastic football weekend. Patriots Point, of course, presents our national anthem every day at 1 o'clock. All right. Scott Glaze, he's waiting very patiently up in beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina, and he will join us next. We'll ask him about Tiger Woods' prep. He's a month away from the Masters. Can he defend it this year? Good timing for Scott Glaze today right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $3.99.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
Now, hear this.
Who the hell is that?
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
.135 on a Thursday afternoon here in the low country of South Carolina. Wherever you're listening, we hope your weather is as beautiful as ours is. Although I'd like it to be a little bit cooler. What, you
Yeah, it was nice yesterday, though. A little bit of a breeze, some cloud cover. We actually sat outside at Dog and Duck, so it was nice.
Oh.
Yeah, some new tables out there in Bell Hall, so it was good.
You can play golf outside at Stono Ferry. They're one of the golf courses that provides outside golf here in the state of South Carolina. And to tell you about that and more, Scott Glaze, the head pro at Stono Ferry Golf Course. Visit stonoferrygolf.com and find them on the banks of the Stono River up there in Hollywood, South Carolina. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Missed you last week. It didn't feel the same, but glad to be back. And we're a month away from the Masters. We got a great event with the CJ Cup this week. So and the weather is just getting to be prime. So good time for golf right now.
Yeah, I know that y'all have been. Yeah, I know you had a tournament last week, but the course has just been full up of golfers, huh?
Yeah, I mean it really has. We when COVID first hit, March and April were a little slow there, but fortunately the game of golf is you can be socially distant, you can come out here and have fun and stay safe and stay sanitary and stay away from other people. And so really since May, this train has not stopped rolling. So it was actually nice for me personally to have a little time off last week because, I mean, we have just gone 100 miles an hour. But it's great that it's bringing a lot of new people to the game, bringing the game to people that have maybe not picked up their clubs in a while. And so now is a perfect time to enjoy it. Fall golf is great. Unfortunately, the days are getting a little shorter, but the weather is just perfect. So it's a great activity to come do.
You know what's really neat about Stono, Darren, is they have those new hooped up, swooped up golf carts.
Yeah, I heard about those.
So when they implement the cart path only, and it pops up on your screen, and somehow you either miss it or just don't acknowledge it, and you just go ahead and cut out there into the middle of the fairway, and they just stop you like they did me.
Oh, yeah.
And then the only way to get off of it is to be embarrassed by the people standing on the tee box behind you, and you have to reverse off of the
You gotta call the pro shop. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't just not acknowledging that it was. I guess I had missed it, or it happened maybe like while I was.
Oh please, you knew.
I really didn't know. I really didn't know, but my buddy knew. That was the problem. Who was playing with me? He knew, and we got out in the middle of the fairway, and the cart shut off, and it said, "Please return to the cart path." And I looked up, and I was like, "Oh, it's cart path only." And he said, "Yeah, you didn't know that?" I said, "No, I didn't. Maybe you could have mentioned that before I cut my way out into the fairway here." But a real quick update from Vegas, which seems to be where everything's headed these days. The CJ Cup at Shadow Creek. It is Joel Dahman and Mount Pleasant's Russell Henley in the lead. Both at 2 under here through 4. How about that?
There you go. Hey, that's a little spoiler there when we get to my pick. He is not my pick. But I can dive into Russell Henley. 2 under through 3, a little local flair. I know Russell used to live in the area. I'm not sure if he does anymore actually, or not, or as much time as he spends here anymore. He has only missed one cut in each of his last 9 starts. Every other start, I think, in the last 12 has been top 30. But with Russell, he's really flown under the radar. The last 2 years, there's only one player that has a better strokes gain approach than Russell Henley, and that is Justin Thomas. So over 2 years now, Russell Henley, his approach game, his iron game has been awesome. So he's going to be my dark horse this week. Not my pick to win, but Russell Henley, I think he's poised to have a breakout here sooner than later and rejoin the winner's circle.
Who is your pick to win?
My pick, it's a lame pick this week, is Justin Thomas. We got a lot of heavy hitters in the field this week. This tournament is usually in South Korea at the 9 Bridges there, but due to COVID, it was moved to Shadow Creek, which is a sight to see. You really got to tune in this week. Shadow Creek is a phenomenal golf course out there in Vegas. It's kind of a club that was built for the high rollers at the resorts there. And I actually put out a picture of an aerial view of the golf course from the mid-90s. It was actually built late 80s, but Tom Fazio built it late 80s. The picture's from the mid-90s. There's absolutely nothing around the golf course. And it's this pristine green. It looks like Tom Fazio built a course in the middle of the Carolinas out there in the desert. So it's really a sight to see. However, Justin Thomas, 2-time winner of the CJ Cup in 2018, and he also won it earlier this year in that wraparound season, 2020. So he's going to be my pick. I think just in pristine conditions like this, he's going to be tough to beat, but it's going to be a lot of great golf, a lot of top names in the field this week.
Well, you mentioned South Korea, and your pick, of course, is Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and South Korea's Sungjae Im. They'll all tee off at 2:46 Eastern, so a little bit over an hour away from them getting on the golf course. So obviously that's probably the most important group to watch this afternoon, and we'll see how it all unfolds. We just kind of screwed Russell Henley into the turf because he dropped a shot as soon as we mentioned his name. Poor Russell.
We're good at that. We're really good at that.
Yeah, he's really cursing us from Vegas. I can hear him now out there at Shadow Creek. But 2 players not in the tournament this week are Bryson DeChambeau and Tiger Woods. Bryson has said he's going to take the month off leading into the Masters. We'll come back to him, but let's start with Tiger here. We are 1 month exactly today from the first tee box being occupied by whomever that may be in Augusta, Georgia, for the first time in the fall in the month of November. What will this next month be like for Tiger Woods? Does he have anything that is on the schedule right now? And in addition to that, what is his preparation like in his effort to defend his Masters championship?
Well, let's see. Well, that honorary tee shot is going to be hit by Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. They'll be the first ones on the tee. And I tell you that the Masters put out a video today, about a minute long, on all their social media threads that just will give you chills. Kind of talking about the Masters a month away, fall Masters, still a tradition unlike any other. Even though this year it's going to be a fall classic. Tiger is getting his body ready. That's big for him nowadays. He's got to take care of his back. He's got to make sure that his body peaks. He talks about that a lot, is making sure that he peaks at the right time. Tiger will be playing next week at the Zozo Championship, which is going to be in California. So he will have a little bit of a tune-up. He's actually defending his title that he won in Japan, where the Zozo is originally supposed to be held. He'll be defending that title next week, and then we will not see him before the Masters. So I would not putting a ton of pressure on making sure that Tiger looks really good next week. I think he's going to use next week as an opportunity to hit some shots in a competitive environment that he might see at Augusta. So he might have a certain tee shot that he wants to hit off of, let's say, number 8 at Augusta. There might be a hole out there at the Zozo that kind of maybe fits the same shot shape, and so he might work on that in the practice rounds and then in the subsequent rounds. Of course, Tiger's the ultimate competitor. He's going to go out there. He's going to try and win the Zozo, try to defend. try to get yet another PGA Tour victory. But I think he's going to use it as a tune-up, really see where the rust is in his game and what he needs to sharpen before heading to Augusta. Tiger is one of the only people on the planet that knows Augusta maybe better than anyone. So he knows exactly what he's going to need. He is the defending champion. He currently is wearing the green jacket, and he would love to have Chairman Ridley there to slip the jacket on him. That's reserved for being a repeat champion. You don't have last year's champion to put the jacket on you, so the chairman of Augusta National will do that. It's going to be I'm very interested to see it because I have not loved where Tiger's game has been since we returned to golf. And I think he's going to, and rightfully so, I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on himself to defend these events that he won last year, the next two times that he tees it up. So I think we're going to have that kind of next level Tiger, that kind of twinkle in his eye type Tiger. Who's to say if he will defend? I sure hope he does. But we're going to give his best effort, that's for sure.
Well, you mentioned that he's going to play next week at the Zozo. He also won the Zozo last year. I think if I remember correctly, that tournament was played over in Japan.
Right.
And next week it'll be played in Thousand Oaks, California at Sherwood. So what do we expect to see then at the Zozo? I know that he's trying to sharpen his game for Augusta, November 12th through the 15th, clearly, but does that mean that next week, Tiger is not really in it to win it? Does that mean that he's just kind of out there, I don't want to say going through the motions, but his emphasis in that tournament is on Tiger, not on Tiger winning?
Right, exactly. Well, anytime he puts a tee in the ground, he expects to win. But Tiger is so skilled and so talented and just such a generational talent. And he's outwardly said before that he will practice shots for other golf courses in a PGA Tour event. Augusta really, you have to move the ball off the tee there. Let's say he's really trying to work on a fade to go to Augusta. He's going to be hitting a lot of fades at the Zozo. Still going to be competing, but he's going to be honing his game in the areas that he needs to hone it next week at Sherwood. And certainly, the guy's trying to win. So, we might see practice rounds Thursday, Friday. Maybe he's going to kind of see where his game is. And if he's in a position to put the pedal to the metal and go win and defend that title, might kind of ditch having Augusta in the back of his mind and then go try and win the golf tournament and have sole focus on that. But I think a lot of his focus next week is going to be on the certain types of shots that he's going to need around Augusta. That could also even be around the green, certain little pitches, working on trajectories with his wedges, all sorts of stuff is going to be very much geared towards Augusta National.
How many players on tour are doing that the same way that Tiger is, using certain events to prep for others in terms of the shot shape and the different types of shots and clubs they're going to need to hit?
Everybody's doing it, but very few will be doing it during another event. This week and in the subsequent weeks that Bryson DeChambeau is off, he's going to be practicing that. Well, who knows? He's probably going to be trying to hit the ball 400
He's going to be
yards.
Eating 7,000 calories.
We know he's going to do that. But all of these guys are doing it in their prep for Augusta. All of their swing coaches, the players themselves, especially veteran players that know Augusta National well, they're all doing it on their own time. Short game is so important at Augusta National. So I know all of those guys are working, like I said previously, they're working on their wedges, working on their trajectory of the wedges, being able to hit different types of shots. You can see these guys hit a shot that's going to take one hop and stop right next to the hole. They're going to hit some that they're going to want to back up to the hole. They're going to hit some that's going to release and roll like a putt. They're going to be working on all of that type stuff. However, Tiger is just so good that he's been able to do that at other events and still be able to compete these events and win. I think he's just one of a lifetime to do that. All of these guys, that is their focus. Augusta is in everyone's mind. Everyone who has punched their ticket there. But I don't think that everyone is going to be already shaping their game towards Augusta as Tiger will be this early. And a lot of that is youth. A lot of these guys are younger than Tiger. They can get ready quicker in terms of getting their body ready and their game ready. With Tiger getting older, I think he needs a little more time to do that.
On Twitter at Scott Glaze, golf pro at Stono Ferry. All right, final one here, and then we'll kind of begin our descent from 30,000 feet above with you. Dustin Johnson withdrew from the CJ Cup this week because of his positive test with COVID-19, and there is still a chance that he could return next week to the Zozo as long as symptoms, of course, have subsided and he's negative with a bunch of tests and things like that. We know how this works. But in saying that, being a month away from Augusta, obviously winning Augusta would be something unbelievable for Dustin Johnson. How does, in your opinion, does this affect his game? I don't necessarily mean the virus itself here. I mean the fact that he's tested positive. He needs to be in quarantine, and so that's taking time off, 10 days to 2 weeks, whatever it is, from hitting golf shots. Can that carryover effect, linger all the way into mid-November in Augusta, Georgia?
Yeah, and I'm sure I think DJ's a member down at the Bears Club and down there in Florida. I'd be really interested to know if there's a way that he can get out to the golf course the next couple of weeks and isolate himself, if they would even allow him to do that. I think this is a huge blow for him. One thing you want is competitive reps before going into such a monumental tournament like the Masters. Tournament golf is such a different animal. You and I can go out and play 18 holes this afternoon at Stono or wherever it is, Shadow Creek, and just play and have fun and have a friendly wager, a couple drinks, something like that. That's a totally different game than stepping into a major championship with money, prestige, fame, everything that you've dreamed of as a kid on the line. And you need those reps. You need tournament reps to get you in that tournament mode, especially when it is the ultimate prize that is the Masters. Like I said, anytime, once you pick up a golf club as a kid, you're hitting putts on the putting green at dark, waiting on your parents to pick you up. Every putt is to win the Masters, to win the Masters, to win the Masters. So if you're not doing right now all that you can to have a chance to hit that putt to actually win the Masters, there are people out there that are doing more than you are. You're at a disadvantage. So it's really, really poor timing for DJ. It's just, I hate it for him. And not saying that this is going to hurt his chances at the Masters, but it certainly could. I hate it for him because, man, bad luck seems to follow DJ like a rain cloud. He had the issue at the PGA Championship there, grounding his club in the bunker. Had the issue at the U.S. Open where he lost it on the 18th green there to Jordan Spieth. He had the issue at the Masters a couple years ago where he was by far the best golfer on the planet and almost a lock to win the Masters, and then fell down the steps at his rental home, hurt his back, didn't play. Yeah. So we have a lot of these instances where DJ looks to be the favorite, like he's going to do it, and then something happens and it doesn't get done. So I hope that COVID is not a reason that Dustin Johnson then doesn't have a great chance to win this year's Masters. But it certainly it makes you feel for him, and hopefully that he can be able to start practicing and gearing his game up, because I tell you what, that second week in November is going to be here before we know it.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Real quick final update here on our program. The CJ Cup at Shadow Creek. Taylor Gooch now 2 under, tied with Joel Dahman, Harry Higgs, Mount Pleasant's Russell Henley, Tyler Duncan, Ian Poulter, Tommy Fleetwood, and a host of others are at 1 under, awaiting that major group today at 2:46 p.m. That includes Justin Thomas and Brooks Koepka. All right, StonoFerryGolf.com. That's where you can book your tee times. Go ahead and get some lessons booked. Buy yourself a gift card, whatever it may be. Inquire about membership to Stono Ferry on the banks of the Stono River, the ICW out there in beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina. Maybe you can get yourself some Boogie's Barbecue on the way home. But this week we'll take a look at number 16. Retreat is the name of it out at Stono Ferry. Tell us about Retreat.
I'll tell you about retreat. But speaking of instruction, with the holidays coming up, that will also be here before you know it. That's a great gift to give someone, whether it's a gift card with a certain amount they can use in the shop. They can use it towards instruction. So keep that in mind as we approach the holidays. But
good point.
Retreat, number 16, 423 yards from the back tees, 277 yards from the forward tees. It's the number 4 handicap hole on the card. And if you're familiar with the way holes are handicapped in golf, 18 is deemed to be the easiest, and 1 is the hardest. So this is, on that scale, one of the more difficult holes, and I really agree. I think it is a tremendous test before we play 17 and 18 and get back to the clubhouse. 16 is a dog leg to the right, so that it's about close to a 90-degree dog leg to the right. So at about the 150-yard marker, the hole bends to the right to where we have a green that's 33 paces deep and is a kidney shape that goes from front right, to back left around a singular bunker there, right in the elbow of the green. Very undulating green. However, the tee shot is crucial. We have a penalty area all down the right side, low-lying wetland area that has trees, water, probably some snakes in there. Don't want to hit it in there, but you also have to advance the ball far enough off the tee to be able to clear that dog leg where we can have a clear shot into the green. So if you don't hit a well-struck tee shot, your second shot is then going to be obstructed. Now there's also a pond that kind of guards the left side of the fairway up closer to the green. That's really going to come into play if you're obstructed on the second shot. So if you can hit a nice tee ball in that 150-yard area from the green, plays a little uphill into the putting surface there, and just put it right in the middle of the green. As we have another, that's kind of the story of Stone Ferry, another undulating green where it's tough to find a straight putt, and just put it on the green and hope for a 2-putt. Par is a very, very good number on 16. I think 16 is one of the more underrated holes out here. Architecturally, it's very, very sound, and it really tests all skill levels from beginner to even the best players that tee it up out here. So 16 is going to be a test. Par is your friend for sure. And if you can walk away with one of those pars, then you're going to have a par 5 late in your round to try to get one back.
Well said. I agree. It is an underrated hole, and it gets you to 17 and 18, which generally –
that's the important thing. You got to get there.
You know, I play well in 18. I play horrible 10 through 16. Play better 17, play well in 18, and you're like, okay, I'll come back. Yeah, that's how golf works.
Right. That's usually how it goes.
that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. StoneO'FerryGolf.com. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scott Glaze. He is really, really good at this, and we'll see. Who was your pick again this week? It was Justin Thomas, right?
Yep.
Justin Thomas. Watch out for Russell Henley. I don't think this is going to be his week, but he might be my firm pick one of these weeks coming up. I think he's going to have a breakout soon.
Okay. We're going to hold you to that. No doubt. Hey, man, have a wonderful weekend out there. Thank you so much for everything, obviously. Enjoy, let's see here, baseball, golf, football this weekend. You got a bunch of stuff to keep your eyes on, so have fun.
I tell you what, and Saturday with a high of around 68, 69, that's a great time. You can come out, get an early round of golf in before settling in for some big football in the evening. So I think that's a good plan. So everybody come out and see us and enjoy an awesome weekend.
You're spot on with that, my friend. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
There you go, Scott Glaze joining us from beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina. Real quick on the handy-dandy, what day is it today calendar, National Day Calendar? It's a lot of days, so I got to run them all in here as quickly as I possibly can. It is Get to Know Your Customers Day.
Yeah. Let's get to know you.
Yeah, what's your name? What's your name?
Hit us with a text or a tweet.
Yeah, what's your name? We'll shout you out tomorrow. It's National White Cane Safety Day.
I don't have a white cane.
I mean,
but if you're using a cane, be safe.
Yeah.
Because you already have a bad leg.
It's National Esthetician Day.
It's like a beauty thing.
Yeah. You look nice.
Thanks.
It is National Grouch Day. Ugh. Don't be a grouch.
Now, kind of felt like one this morning.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm better now, though.
It's National Cheese Curd Day.
So, I had a cheese curd for the first time not too long ago, and look, it's good. You just got to change the name, man.
Yeah. It's kind of, I know. You replace the C with a T, and you got a problem.
Yes.
It is National I Love Lucy Day. Who doesn't love Lucy? Everybody loves Lucy, right?
Yeah, I mean.
And then these two are pretty serious. It is National Latino AIDS Awareness Day. Well, that never happens to anybody.
Okay.
And it is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. No doubt about that. I know a bunch of people have been in that spot, and it is heartbreaking.
Yes.
So obviously, pray for those. All right. We are out of time. Man, we got a lot in today.
We did.
Basketball, football, baseball, golf. Man. Thanks to David Cloninger, Corey McCartney, and Scott Glaze. Tomorrow, Rafael Esparza, Michael Flint. We got something else playing tomorrow. I can't remember what it is. David Shelton.
Yep.
David Shelton tomorrow. A bunch of football around here. Looking forward to that, no doubt. Who?
Our official picks.
Yeah, our picks tomorrow.
Road trip.
Take a road trip. Yeah, Fridays are fun, man.
Yeah.
Fridays are a lot of fun for us. We roll. So, thanks to Darren, as always.
Thank you.
Have a terrific and thirsty Thursday afternoon at the Dog and Duck. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.